find
Since you
Aniruddha?
asked about that.
Do we have that in this version? This is, let's see. Do we have another, do we have Krishna book 2 and 3? Because Aniruddha is not in this one. Oh, can you this one? Yeah, let's see if it's in there. Oh, yeah. It is tiny, but let's see if it's in here. Oh, yeah, that's I bet it's in here. Draupadi meets the queens of Krishna. I don't see Aniruddha. Meeting of Usa and Aniruddha, 473.
Krishna, did you see a brace, a back brace on this table when you came? Yeah. Is that what you kept it available? Oh. You check it.
So we're reading Krishna book, chapter 62, the meeting of Usha and Aniruddha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Good.
Okay, so the meeting of Aniruddha and Usa, which caused a great fight between Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva, is very mysterious and interesting. Maharaj Parikshit was eager to hear the whole story from Sukadeva Goswami, and thus Sukadeva narrated it. My dear king, you must have heard the name of King Bali. He was a great devotee who gave away in charity all of that he had, namely the whole world, to Lord Vamana, the incarnation of Vishnu as a dwarf Brahmana. King Bali had 100 sons, and the eldest of all of them was Banasura. The great hero Banasura, born of Maharaj Bali, was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and was always ready to render service unto him. Because of his devotion, Banasura achieved a great position in society, and he was honored in every respect. Actually, he was very intelligent and liberal also, and his activities are all praiseworthy because he never deviated from his promise and word of honor. He was very truthful and fixed in his vow. In those days, he was ruling over the city of Sanitapura. By the grace of Lord Shiva, Banasura had 1,000 arms, and he became so powerful that even demigods like King Indra were serving him most obediently. The print is a little small, it's kind of hard to read. I wonder if I can just yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
See if it's okay, better for you.
Let's see. Yeah, that helps. That's good. Okay, long ago when Lord Shiva was dancing in his celebrated fashion called Tandava Nritya, for which he is known as Nataraj, Banasura helped Lord Shiva in his dancing by rhythmically beating drums with his 1,000 hands. Lord Shiva is well known as a Sudosha, very easily pleased, and he is also very affectionate to his devotees. He is a great protector for persons who take shelter of him, and the master of all living entities in the material world. Being pleased with Banasura, he said, "Whatever you desire, you can have from me, for I am very much pleased with you." Banasura replied, "My dear Lord, if you please, you can remain in my city just to protect me from the hands of my enemies." Once upon a time, Banasura came to offer his respects to Lord Shiva. By touching the lotus feet of Lord Shiva with his helmet, which was shining like the sun globe, he offered his obeisances unto him. While offering his respectful obeisances, Banasura said, "My dear Lord, anyone who has you fulfill his ambition will be able to do so by taking shelter of your lotus feet, which are just like a desire tree, from which one can take anything he desires. My dear Lord, you have given me 1,000 arms, but I do not know what to do with them. They are simply a burden. I cannot use them properly in fighting, since I cannot find anyone courageous to fight with me except your lordship, the original father of the material world. Sometimes I feel a great tendency to fight with my arms, and I go out to find a suitable warrior. Unfortunately, everyone flees knowing my extraordinary power. Being baffled at not finding a match, I satisfy the itching of my arms by beating them against the mountains. In this way, I tear many great mountains to pieces. Lord Shiva realized that his benediction had become troublesome for Banasura and addressed him, "You rascal, you are very eager to fight, but since you have no one to fight with, you are distressed. Although you think that there is no one in the world to oppose you except me, I say that you will eventually find such a competent person. At that time, your days will come to an end, and your flag of victory will no longer fly. Then you will see your false prestige smashed to pieces." After hearing Lord Shiva's statement, Banasura, who was very much puffed up with his power, became elated that he would meet someone able to smash him to pieces. Banasura then returned home with great pleasure, and he always waited for the day when the suitable fighter would come to cut down his strength. He was such a foolish demon. It appears that foolish demoniac human beings, when unnecessarily overpowered with material opulences, want to exhibit these opulences, and such foolish people feel satisfaction when these opulences are exhausted. The idea is that they do not know how to expend their energy for right causes, being unaware of the benefits of Krishna consciousness. Actually, there are two classes of men. One is Krishna conscious, the other is non-Krishna conscious. The non-Krishna conscious men are generally devoted to the demigods, whereas the Krishna conscious men are devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna conscious persons utilize everything for the service of the Lord. The non-Krishna conscious persons utilize everything for sense gratification, and Banasura is a perfect example of such a person. For his own satisfaction, he was very eager to utilize his extraordinary power to fight. Not finding any combatant, he struck his powerful arms against the mountains, breaking them to pieces. In contrast to this, Arjuna also possessed extraordinary powers for fighting, but he utilized them only for Krishna. Banasura had a very beautiful daughter whose name was Usa. When she had attained the age of marriage and was sleeping amongst her many girlfriends, she dreamt one night that Aniruddha was by her side and that she was enjoying a conjugal relationship with him, although she had never actually seen him or heard of him before. She awoke from her dream exclaiming very loudly, "My dear beloved, where are you?" Being exposed to her friends in this way, she became a little bit ashamed. One of Usa's girlfriends was Chitraleka, who was the daughter of Banasura's prime minister. Chitraleka and Usha were intimate friends, and out of great curiosity, Chitraleka asked, "My dear beautiful princess, as of yet you are not married to any young boy, nor have you seen any boys until now. So I am surprised that you are exclaiming like this. What are you searching after? Who is your suitable match?" On hearing Chitraleka's inquiries, Usha replied, "My dear friend, in my dream I saw a nice young man who is very, very beautiful. His complexion is swarthy, his eyes are just like lotus petals, and he dressed in yellow garments. His arms are very long, and his general bodily features are so pleasing that any young girl would be attracted. I feel much pride in saying that this beautiful young man was kissing me, and I was very much enjoying the nectar of his kissing. But I am sorry to inform you that just after this he disappeared, and I have been thrown into the whirlpool of disappointment. My dear friend, I am very anxious to find this wonderful young man, the desired Lord of my heart. After hearing Usha's words, Chitralekha immediately replied, I can understand your bereavement, and I assure you that if this boy is within these three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems, I must find him for your satisfaction. If you can identify him from your dream, I shall bring you peace of mind. Now let me draw some pictures for you to inspect, and as soon as you find a picture of your desired husband, let me know. It doesn't matter where he is. I know the art of bringing him here, so as soon as you identify him, I shall immediately arrange for it. Chitralekha, while talking, began to draw many pictures of the demigods inhabiting the higher planetary systems. Then pictures of the Gandharvas, Siddhas, Charanas, Paninagas, Daityas, Vidyadharas, and Yakshas, as well as many pictures of human beings. The statements of Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures prove definitely that on each and every planet there are living entities of different varieties. Therefore, it is foolish to assert that there are no living entities but those on this earth. Chitralekha drew many pictures. Among the human beings she drew were members of the Vrishni dynasty, including Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, Surasena, the grandfather of Krishna, Sri Balaramji, Lord Krishna, and many others. When Usa saw the picture of Pradyumna, she became a little bashful, but when she saw the picture of Aniruddha, she became so bashful that she immediately identified the picture. She lowered her head and smiled, having found the man that she was seeking. She identified the picture to Chitralekha as that of the man who had stolen her heart. Chitralekha was a great mystic yogini, and as soon as Usa identified the picture, Chitralekha could immediately understand that it was Aniruddha, a grandson of Krishna's, although neither she nor Usa had previously known his name or even seen him. That very night she traveled in outer space and within a very short time reached the city of Dwarka, which was well protected by Lord Krishna. She entered the palace and found Aniruddha sleeping in his bedroom on a very opulent bed. Chitralekha, by her mystic power, immediately brought Aniruddha in that sleeping condition to the city of Samrapura so that Usha might see her desired husband. Usha immediately bloomed in happiness and began to enjoy the company of Aniruddha with great satisfaction. The palace in which Usha and Chitralekha lived was so well fortified that it was impossible for any male to either enter or see inside. Usa and Aniruddha lived together in the palace, and day after day Usa's love for Aniruddha grew 4 times upon 4. Usa pleased Aniruddha with valuable garments, flowers, garlands, scents, and incense. By his bedside sitting place were other paraphernalia for residential purposes, nice drinks as milk and sherbet, and nice edibles which could be chewed or swallowed. Above all, she pleased him with sweet words and very obliging service. Usha worshipped Aniruddha as if he were the supreme personality of Godhead. By her excellent service, Usha made Aniruddha forget all about other things and was able to draw his attention and love to her without deviation. In such an atmosphere of love and service, Aniruddha peacefully forgot himself and could not recall how many days he had been away from his real home. In due course of time, Usha exhibited some bodily symptoms by which it could be understood that she was having intercourse with a male friend. The symptoms were so prominent that her actions could no longer be concealed from anyone. Usa was always cheerful in the association of Aniruddha, and she did not know the bounds of her satisfaction. The housekeeper and the guards of the palace could guess very easily that she was having relations with a male friend, and without waiting for further developments, all of them informed their master, Manasura. In the Vedic culture, an unmarried girl having association with a male is the greatest disgrace to the family, and so the caretakers cautiously informed their master that Usa was showing symptoms indicating a disgraceful association. The servants informed their master that they were not at all neglectful in guarding the house, being alert day and night against any young man who might enter. They were so careful that a male could not even see what was going on there, and so they were surprised that she had become contaminated. Since they could not trace out the reason for it, they submitted the whole situation before their master. Banasura was shocked to understand that his daughter, Usa, was no longer a virgin maiden. This weighed heavily on his heart, and without delay, he rushed towards the palace where Usa was living. There he saw that Usa and Aniruddha were sitting together and talking. They looked very beautiful together, Aniruddha being the son of Pradyumna, who was Cupid himself. Banasura saw his daughter and Aniruddha as a suitable match, yet for family prestige he did not like the combination at all. Banasura could not understand who the boy actually was. He appreciated the fact that Usa could not have selected anyone in the three worlds more beautiful. Aniruddha's complexion was brilliant and swarthy. He was dressed in yellow garments and had eyes just like lotus petals. His arms were very long, and he had nice curling bluish hair. The glaring rays of the glittering earrings and the beautiful smile on his lips were certainly captivating. Still, Banasura was very angry. When Banasura saw him, Aniruddha was engaged in playing with Usa. Aniruddha was nicely dressed, and Usa had garlanded him with various beautiful flowers. The reddish kadamba powder put on the breasts of women was spotted here and there on the garland, indicating that Usa had embraced him. Banasura was struck with wonder that even in his presence, Aniruddha was peacefully sitting in front of Usa. Aniruddha knew, however, that his would-be father-in-law was not at all pleased, and that he was gathering many soldiers in the palace to attack him. Thus, not finding any other weapon, Aniruddha took hold of a big iron rod and stood up before Banasura and his soldiers. He firmly took a posture indicating that if attacked, he would strike all of the soldiers down and on the ground with the iron rod. Banasura and his company of soldiers saw that the boy was standing before them just like the superintendent of death with his invincible rod. Now, under the order of Banasura, the soldiers from all sides engaged. They attempted to capture and arrest him. When they dared to come before him, Aniruddha struck them with the rod, forcing their heads, legs, arms, and thighs, and one after another they fell on the ground. He killed them just as the leader of a pack of boars kills barking dogs, one after another. In this way, Aniruddha was able to escape the palace. Banasura knew various arts of fighting, and by the grace of Lord Shiva, he knew how to arrest his enemy by the use of a naga pasa, snake noose, and thus he seized Aniruddha as he came out of the palace. When Usa received the news that her father had arrested Aniruddha, she was overwhelmed with grief and confusion. Tears glided down from her eyes, and being unable to check herself, she began to cry very loudly. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 62nd chapter of Krishna, the meeting of Usha and Aniruddha.
Thank you. I thought that was
Yeah, it's a really nice pastime. Any other requests?
Next one.
The next one, okay.
You let us know next.
Lord Krishna fights with Banasura.
Yeah, that was
When the 4 months of the rainy season passed and Aniruddha had still not returned home, all the members of the Yadu family became much perturbed. They could not remember or understand how the boy was missing. Fortunately, one day the great sage Narada came and informed the family about Aniruddha's disappearance from the palace. He explained how Aniruddha had been carried to the city of Sanatapura, the capital of Banasura's empire, and how Banasura had arrested him with the Nagapasa, even though Aniruddha had defeated his soldiers. This news was given in detail by Narada, and the whole story was disclosed. Then the members of the Yadu dynasty, all of whom had great affection for Krishna, prepared to attack the city of Sanatapura. Practically all the leaders of the family, including Pradyumna, Saryaki, Gada, Samba, Sarana, Nanda, Upananda, and Bhadra, combined together and gathered 12 Akshayini military divisions into phalanxes. Then they all went to Sanatapura and surrounded it with soldiers, elephants, horses, and chariots. Banasura heard the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty were attacking the whole city, tearing down various walls, gates, and nearby gardens. Becoming very angry, he immediately ordered his soldiers, who were of equal caliber, to go and face them. Lord Shiva was so kind to Banasura that he personally came as the commander-in-chief of the military force, assisted by his heroic sons, Kartikeya and Ganapati. Lord Shiva, seated on his favorite bull Nandi, led the fighting against Lord Krishna and Balaram. We can simply imagine how fierce the fighting was. Lord Shiva, with his valiant sons on one side, and Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his elder brother, Sri Balaramji, on the other. The fighting was so fierce that those who saw the battle were struck with wonder, and the hairs on their bodies stood up. Lord Shiva was engaged in fighting directly with Lord Krishna. Pradyumna was engaged with Kartikeya, and Lord Balaram was engaged with Banasura's commander-in-chief, Kumbhakanda, who was assisted by Kumpakarna. Samba, the son of Krishna, fought the son of Banasura, and Banasura fought Saryaki, commander-in-chief of the Yadu dynasty. In this way, the fighting was waged. News of the fighting spread all over the universe. Demigods such as Lord Brahma from higher planetary systems, along with great sages and saintly persons, Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas, all being very curious to see the fight between Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna and their assistants, hovered over the battlefield in their airplanes. Lord Shiva is called Bhutanatha because he is assisted by various types of powerful ghosts and denizens of the inferno. Bhutas, Pretas, Tamathas, Gudyakas, Dakinis, Piskachas, Karanandas, Veritas, Vanayakas, and Brahma Rakshasas. Of all kinds of ghosts, the Brahma Rakshasa are very powerful. They are Brahmanas who after death have entered the ghostly species of life. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, simply drove all these ghosts away from the battlefield with the arrows from his celebrated bow, Sarna Danor. Lord Shiva then began to release all his selected weapons against the Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, without any difficulty, counteracted all these weapons with counter-weapons. His Brahmastra and an air weapon were he counteracted the Brahmastra similar to the atomic bomb with another Brahmastra, and an air weapon with a mountain weapon. When Lord Shiva released a particular weapon bringing about a violent hurricane on the battlefield, Lord Krishna presented just the opposite element, a mountain weapon which checked the hurricane on the spot. Similarly, when Lord Shiva released his weapon of devastating fire, Krishna counteracted it with torrents of rain. At last, when Lord Shiva released his personal weapon, the Pasupatra Astra, Krishna immediately counteracted it with a Narayana Astra. Lord Shiva then became exasperated in fighting with Lord Krishna. Krishna then took the opportunity to release his yawning weapon. When this weapon is unleashed, the opposing party becomes tired, stops fighting, and begins to yawn. Consequently, Lord Shiva became so fatigued that he refused to fight anymore and began yawning. Krishna was now able to turn his attention from the attack of Lord Shiva to the efforts of Banasura, and he began to kill Banasura's personal soldiers with swords and clubs. Meanwhile, Lord Krishna's son Pradyumna was fighting fiercely with Kartikeya, the commander-in-chief of the demigods. Kartikeya was wounded and his body was bleeding profusely. In this condition, he left the battlefield and without fighting anyone, rode away on the back of his peacock carrier. Similarly, Lord Balaram smashed Banasura's commander-in-chief, Kambanda, with the strokes of his club. Kunakarna was also wounded in that way, and both he and Kambanda fell on the battlefield, Kambanda being fatally wounded. Without guidance, all of Banasura's soldiers scattered here and there. When Banasura saw that his soldiers and commanders had been defeated, his anger only increased. He thought it wise to stop fighting with Satyaki, Krishna's commander-in-chief, and instead directly attack Lord Krishna. Now having the opportunity to use his 1,000 arms, he rushed towards Krishna, simultaneously working 500 bows and 2,000 arrows. Such a foolish person could never measure Krishna's strength. Immediately, without difficulty, Krishna cut each of Banasura's bows into 2 pieces, and to check him from going further, he made the horses of his chariot lie on the ground so that the chariot broke to pieces. After doing this, Krishna blew his conch shell, Panchabjana. There was a demigoddess named Kotara who was worshipped by Banasura, and their relationship was as mother and son. Mother Kotara was upset that Banasura's life was in danger, so she appeared on the scene. With naked body and scattered hair, she stood before Lord Krishna. Sri Krishna did not like the sight of this naked woman, and to avoid seeing her, he turned his face. Banasura, getting this chance to escape Krishna's attack, left the battlefield. All the strings of his bows had been broken, and there was no chariot or driver, so he had no alternative but to return to his city. He lost everything in the battle. Being greatly harassed by the arrows of Krishna, all the associates of Lord Shiva, the hobgoblins and ghostly bhutas, pretas and kshatriyas, left the battlefield. Lord Shiva then took to his last resort. He released his greatest death weapon, known as Shiva Dvara, which destroys by excessive heat. It is said that at the end of creation, the sun becomes 12 times more scorching than usual. This 12 times hotter temperature is called Shiva Dvara. When the Shiva Dvara personified was released, he had 3 heads and 3 legs, and as he came towards Krishna, it appeared that he was burning everything to ashes. He was so powerful that he made blazing fire appear in all directions, and Krishna observed that he was specifically coming towards him. As there is a Shiva Dvara weapon, there is also a Narayan Dvara weapon, which is represented by excessive cold. When there is excessive heat, one can somehow or other tolerate it, but when there is excessive cold, everything collapses. This is actually experienced by a person at the time of death. At the time of death, the temperature of the body, first of all, increases to 107 degrees Fahrenheit, and then the whole body collapses and immediately becomes as cold as ice. To counteract the scorching heat of the Shiva Dvara, there is no other weapon but the Narayana Dvara. Therefore, when Lord Krishna saw that the Shiva Dvara had been released by Lord Shiva, he had no recourse other than to release the Narayana Dvara. Lord Sri Krishna is the original Narayan and the controller of the Narayana Dvara weapon. When the Narayana Dvara was released, there was a great fight between the two Dvaras. When excessive heat is counteracted by extreme cold, it is natural for the hot temperatures to gradually reduce. And this is what occurred in the fight between the Shiva Dvara and the Narayana Dvara. Gradually, the Shiva Dvara's temperature diminished, and the Shiva Dvara began to cry for help from Lord Shiva. But Lord Shiva was unable to help him in the presence of the Narayana Dvara. Unable to get any help from Lord Shiva, the Shiva Dvara could understand that he had no means of escape outside of surrendering unto Narayan, Lord Krishna himself. Lord Shiva, the greatest of the demigods, could not help him, what to speak of the lesser demigods, and therefore the Shiva Dvara ultimately surrendered unto Krishna, bowing before him and offering a prayer so that the Lord might be pleased and give him protection. This incident of the fight between the ultimate weapon of Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna proves that if Krishna gives someone protection, no one can kill him. And if Krishna does not give one protection, no one can save him. Lord Shiva is called Mahadeva, the greatest of all the demigods, although sometimes Lord Brahma is considered the greatest of all the demigods because he can create. However, Lord Shiva can annihilate the creations of Brahma. Still, both Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva act only in one capacity. Lord Brahma can create and Lord Shiva can annihilate, but neither of them can maintain. Lord Vishnu, however, not only maintains, but creates and annihilates also. Factually, the creation is not affected by Brahma, because Brahma himself is created by Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva is created or born of Brahma. The Shiva Dvara thus understood that without Krishna or Narayana, no one could help him. He therefore rightly took shelter of Lord Krishna and with folded hands began to pray as follows. My dear Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you because you have unlimited potencies. No one can surpass your potencies, and thus you are the Lord of everyone. Generally, people consider Lord Shiva the most powerful personality in the material world, but Lord Shiva is not consciousness or knowledge. No, but Lord Shiva is not all powerful. You are all powerful. This is factual. You are the original consciousness or knowledge. Without knowledge or consciousness, nothing can be powerful. A material thing may be very powerful, but without the touch of consciousness, it cannot act. A material machine may be gigantic and wonderful, but without the touch of someone conscious and in knowledge, the material machine is useless for all purposes. My Lord, you are complete knowledge, and there is not a pinch of material contamination in your personality. Lord Shiva may be a powerful demigod because of his specific power to annihilate the whole creation. And similarly, Lord Brahma may be very powerful because he can create the entire universe. But actually, neither Brahma nor Lord Shiva is the original cause of this cosmic manifestation. You are the absolute truth, the supreme Brahman, and you are the original cause. The original cause of the cosmic manifestation is not the impersonal Brahman effulgence. That impersonal Brahman effulgence rests on your personality. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, the cause of the impersonal Brahman is Lord Krishna. This Brahman effulgence is likened to the sunshine which emanates from the sun globe. Therefore, impersonal Brahman is not the ultimate cause. The ultimate cause of everything is the supreme, eternal form of Krishna. All material actions and reactions take place in that impersonal Brahman. But in the personal Brahman, the eternal form of Krishna, there is no action and reaction. The Shiva Dwara continued, therefore, my Lord, your body is completely peaceful, completely blissful, and devoid of material contamination. In the material body, there are actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature. The time factor is the most important element above all others because the material manifestation is affected by the agitation of time. Thus, natural phenomena come to existence, and so soon as phenomena appear, fruitive activities are visible. As the result of these fruitive activities, a living entity takes his form. He acquires a particular nature packed up in a subtle body and gross body formed by the life air, the ego, the 10 sense organs, the mind, and the 5 gross elements. These then can create the type of body which later becomes the root cause of various other bodies, which are acquired one after another by means of the transmigration of the soul. All these phenomenal manifestations are the combined actions of your material energy. You, however, are the cause of this external energy, and thus you remain unaffected by the action and reaction of the different elements. And because you are transcendental to such compulsions of material energy, you are the supreme tranquility. You are the last word in freedom from material contamination. I therefore take shelter at your lotus feet, giving up all other shelter. My dear Lord, your appearance as the son of Vasudeva, in your role as a human being, is one of the pastimes of your complete freedom. To benefit your devotees and vanquish the non-devotees, you appear in multi-incarnations. All such incarnations descend in fulfillment of your promise in the Bhagavad Gita that you appear as soon as there are discrepancies in the system of progressive life. When there are disturbances by irregular principles, my dear Lord, you appear by your internal potency. Your main business is to protect and maintain the demigods and spiritually inclined persons, and to maintain the standard of material law and order. Considering your mission of maintaining such law and order, your violence towards the miscreants and demons is quite befitting. This is not the first time you have incarnated. It is to be understood that you have done so many, many times before. My dear Lord, I beg to submit that I have been very greatly chastised by the release of your Narayan Dvara, which is certainly very cooling, yet at the same time severely dangerous and unbearable for all of us. My dear Lord, as long as one is forgetful of Krishna consciousness, driven by the spell of material desires, and ignorant of the ultimate shelter at your lotus feet, one who has accepted this material body becomes disturbed by the 3 miserable conditions of material nature. Because one does not surrender unto you, he continues to suffer perpetually. After hearing the Shiv Dvara, Lord Krishna replied, O 3-headed one, I am pleased with your statement. Be assured that there will be no more suffering for you from the Narayan Dvara. Not only are you now free from fear of the Narayan Dvara, but anyone in the future who simply recollects this fight between you and the Narayan Dvara will also be freed from all kinds of fear. After hearing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Shiva Dvara offered respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet and left. In the meantime, Banasura somehow or other recovered from his setbacks and with rejuvenated energy returned to fight. This time Banasura appeared before Lord Krishna, who was seated on his chariot with different kinds of weapons in his 1,000 hands. Very much agitated, Banasura splashed his different weapons upon the body of Lord Krishna like torrents of rain. When Lord Krishna saw the weapons of Banasura coming at him like water coming out of a strainer, he took his sharp-edged Sudarshan disc and began to cut off the demon's 1,000 arms, one after another, just as a gardener trims the twigs of a tree with sharp corners. When Lord Shiva saw that his devotee Banasura could not be saved, even in his presence, he came to his senses and personally came before Lord Krishna and began to pacify him by offering the following prayers. Lord Shiva said, "My dear Lord, you are the worshipable object of the Vedic hymns. One who does not know you considers the impersonal Brahmajyoti to be the ultimate supreme absolute truth, without knowledge that you exist behind your spiritual effulgence in your eternal abode. My dear Lord, you are therefore called Parabrahman. Indeed, the words Param Brahman have been used in the Bhagavad Gita to identify you. Saintly persons who have completely cleansed their hearts of all material contamination can realize your transcendental form, although you are all-pervading like the sky, unaffected by any material thing." Thank you. Only you are all-pervading like the sky, unaffected by any material thing. Only the devotees can realize you, and no one else. In the impersonal conception of your supreme existence, the sky is just like your navel. Fire is your mouth, and water is your semen. The heavenly planets are your head. All the directions are your ears. The earth, Urvi, is your lotus feet. The moon is your mind, and the sun is your eye. As far as I am concerned, I act as your ego. The ocean is your abdomen, and the king of heaven, Indra, is your arm. Trees and plants are the hairs on your body. The clouds are the hair on your head, and Lord Brahma is your intelligence. All the great progenitors, known as Prajapatis, are your symbolic representatives, and religion is your heart. The impersonal feature of your supreme body is conceived of in this way, but you are ultimately the supreme person. The impersonal feature of your supreme body is only a small expansion of your energy. You are likened to the original fire, and your expansions are its light and heat. Lord Shiva continued, "My dear Lord, since you are manifested universally, the different parts of the universe are the different parts of your body, and by your inconceivable potency, you can simultaneously be both localized and universal. In the Brahma Samhita, we also find it stated that although you always remain in your abode, Goloka Vrindavan, you are present everywhere. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, you appear in order to protect the devotees, and thus your appearance indicates good fortune for all the universe. All the demigods are directing different affairs of the universe by your grace only. Thus, the 7 upper planetary systems are maintained by your grace. At the end of this creation, all manifestation of your energies, whether in the shape of demigods, human beings, or lower animals, enters into you, and all immediate and remote causes of the cosmic manifestation rest in you, without the distinctive features of existence. Ultimately, there is no possibility of distinction between you and any other thing on an equal level with you, or subordinate to you. You are simultaneously the cause of this cosmic manifestation and its ingredients as well. You are the supreme whole, one without a second. In the phenomenal manifestation, there are 3 stages: the stage of consciousness, the stage of semi-consciousness, and dreaming, and then the stage of unconsciousness. But your lordship is transcendental to all these different material stages of existence. You exist, therefore, in a 4th dimension, and your appearance and disappearance do not depend on anything beyond yourself. You are the supreme cause of everything, but of you there is no cause. You yourself cause your own appearance and disappearance. Despite your transcendental position, my Lord, in order to show your 6 opulences and advertise your transcendental qualities, you have appeared in your different incarnations: fish, tortoise, boar, Nrsinga, Keshava, and others, by your personal manifestation. And you have appeared as different living entities by your separated manifestations. By your internal potency, you appear as the different incarnations of Vishnu, and by your external potency, you appear as the phenomenal world. On a cloudy day, to the common man's eyes, the sun appears to be covered, but the fact is that because the sunshine creates the cloud, the sun can never actually be covered, even though the whole sky must be cloudy. Similarly, less intelligent men claim that there is no God, but when the manifestation of different living entities and their activities is invisible, enlightened persons see you present in every atom through the medium of your external and marginal energies. Your ultimately potent activities. What did I say? Ultimately, your unlimited potent activities are experienced by the most enlightened devotees, but those who are bewildered by the spell of your external energy identify themselves with this material world and become attached to society, friendship, and love. Thus, they embrace the threefold miseries of material existence and are subjected to dualities of pain and pleasure, sometimes drowning in the ocean of attachment and sometimes being taken out of it. My dear Lord, only by your mercy and grace can the living entity get the human form of life, which is a chance to get out of the miserable condition of material existence. However, a person who possesses a human body, but who cannot bring his senses under control, is carried away by the waves of sensual enjoyment. As such, he cannot take shelter of your lotus feet and thus engage in your devotional service. The life of such a person is very unfortunate, and anyone living such a life of darkness is certainly cheating himself and thus cheating others also. Therefore, a human society without Krishna consciousness is a society of cheaters and the cheated. My Lord, you are actually the dearmost supersoul of all living entities and the supreme controller of everything. The human being who is always illusioned is afraid of ultimate death. A man who is simply attached to sensual enjoyment voluntarily accepts the miserable material existence and thus wanders after the will-o'-the-wisp of sense pleasure. He is certainly the most foolish man, for he drinks poison and puts aside the nectar. My dear Lord, all the demigods, including myself and Lord Brahma, as well as great saintly persons and sages who have cleansed their hearts of material attachment, have by your grace wholeheartedly taken shelter of your lotus feet. We have all taken shelter of you because we have accepted you as the Supreme Lord and the dearmost life and soul of all of us. You are the original cause of this cosmic manifestation. You are its supreme maintainer, and you are the cause of its dissolution also. You are equal to everyone, the most peaceful, supreme friend of every living entity. You are the supreme worshipable object for every one of us. My dear Lord, let us always be engaged in your transcendental loving service so that we may get free from this material entanglement. Finally, my Lord, I may inform you that this Banasura is very dear to me. He has rendered valuable service unto me. Therefore, I want to see him always happy. Being pleased with him, I have assured him safety. I pray to you, my Lord, that as you were pleased with his forefathers, King Prahlad and Bali Maharaj, you will also be pleased with him. After hearing Lord Shiva's prayer, Lord Krishna replied, My dear Lord Shiva, I accept your statements, and I also accept your desire for Banasura. I know that this Banasura is the son of Bali Maharaj, and as such I cannot kill him, for that is my promise. I gave a benediction to King Prahlad that the demons who would appear in his family would never be killed by me. Therefore, without killing this Banasura, I have simply cut off his arms to deprive him of his false prestige. The large number of soldiers he was maintaining became a burden on this earth, and I have killed them all to minimize the burden. Now he has 4 remaining arms, and he will remain immortal, unaffected by material pains and pleasures. I know that he is one of the chief devotees of your lordship, so you can now rest assured that henceforward he need have no fear of anything. When Banasura was blessed by Lord Krishna in this way, he came before the Lord and bowed down before him, touching his head to the earth. Banasura immediately arranged to have his daughter Usha seated with Aniruddha on a nice chariot, and then he presented them before Lord Krishna. After this, Lord Krishna took charge of Aniruddha and Usha, who had become very opulent materially because of the blessings of Lord Shiva. Thus, keeping forward a division of 1 akshahini of soldiers, Krishna proceeded toward Dwarka. In the meantime, all the people of Dwarka, having received the news that Lord Krishna was returning with Aniruddha and Usha in great opulence, decorated every corner of the city with flags, festoons, and garlands. All the big roads and crossings were carefully cleansed and sprinkled with sandalwood pulp mixed with water. Everywhere was the fragrance of sandalwood. All the citizens joined with their friends and relatives to welcome Lord Krishna with great pomp and jubilation, and a tumultuous vibration of conch shells, drums, and bugles received the Lord. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna entered his capital, Dwarka. Sukadeva Goswami assured King Parikshit that the narration of the fight between Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna is not at all inauspicious like ordinary fights. On the contrary, if one remembers in the morning the narration of this fight between Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva and takes pleasure in the victory of Lord Krishna, he will never experience defeat anywhere in his struggle of life. This episode of Banasura's fighting with Krishna and later being saved by the grace of Lord Shiva is confirmation of the statement in the Bhagavad Gita that the worshippers of demigods cannot achieve any benediction without its being sanctioned by the Supreme Lord Krishna. Hence, in this narration we find that although Banasura was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, when he faced death by Krishna, Lord Shiva was not able to save him. But Lord Shiva appealed to Krishna to save his devotee, and this was sanctioned by the Lord. This is the position of Lord Krishna. The exact words used in this connection in the Bhagavad Gita are Mayaiva Vehitri Hi Tribi. This means that without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, no demigod can award any benediction to his worshipper. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 63rd chapter of Krishna, and Lord Krishna fights with Banasura. Okay, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Thank you.